Your birds are losing weight, not dramatically, but gradually. They eat well, they look healthy, but week after week their performance declines. Races that they used to win easily now leave them exhausted. Their feathers lose shine, their droppings become inconsistent, and you can't figure out why. The answer is in your feed room. Right now, at this moment, the feed you're storing is slowly poisoning your birds. Not with chemicals, not with contamination you can see, with something invisible, odorless in its early stages, and absolutely deadly, mold toxins called mycotoxins. 95% of fanciers make the same feed storage mistakes. They buy quality feed, they measure portions carefully, they follow all the nutrition advice, but then they store that expensive, carefully selected feed in ways that allow fungal growth, moisture absorption, and toxin production. And by the time they realize something is wrong, the damage is done. Before we go any further, I need you to do something critical. Hit that subscribe button right now and click the bell icon to become a channel member. Why? Because members get exclusive access to our complete feed storage protocols, mold prevention guides, and emergency contamination response plans. We have detailed videos covering every aspect of feed safety that most fanciers never learn. This information can save your birds' lives. It's only available to channel members. And subscribe to our Pigeon Healthy channel using the link in the description. That's where we share natural preservation methods, herbal mold inhibitors, and botanical feed protection systems that have been used by European champions for decades. Both channels together give you everything you need to keep your feed safe and your birds healthy. Do it now. This information is too important to ignore. Now back to the silent killer in your feed room. Let's start with the biggest mistake, the one that almost everyone makes, storing feed in bags and sacks. You buy a 25-kilogram sack of feed, high-quality seed mix. You paid good money for it. You bring it home and leave it in the original paper or woven plastic sack, maybe in your garage or a shed near the loft. This seems logical. The feed came in this bag. Surely it's designed for storage. Wrong. Feed bags are designed for transport and short-term storage under controlled conditions, not for long-term storage in variable environments. Paper bags are porous. They allow moisture from the air to penetrate. They provide no protection from humidity fluctuations. Woven plastic sacks are slightly better, but still allow air exchange. Both types of bags are vulnerable to rodent damage, insect infiltration, and direct moisture contact if they touch damp floors or walls. Here's what happens. Your garage or feed shed experiences temperature changes between day and night, between sunny and rainy days. When temperature drops, relative humidity inside the bag increases even if absolute moisture content stays the same. This condensation, even microscopic amounts, provides the moisture that fungal spores need to germinate. Fungal spores are everywhere. They're in the air, on surfaces, already present on the feed itself from the field where it was grown. Under dry conditions, these spores remain dormant, but introduce moisture even briefly and they activate. They begin growing, they penetrate the seed coat, they consume nutrients inside the seed. And most dangerously, many species of fungi produce mycotoxins as metabolic byproducts. The most dangerous mycotoxin in pigeon feed is aflatoxin, produced by Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus parasiticus fungi. Aflatoxin is one of the most potent natural carcinogens known. It causes liver damage, immune suppression, and growth inhibition in birds. Chronic low-level exposure, the kind that happens when birds eat slightly moldy feed every day for months, causes gradual decline that looks exactly like what I described at the beginning of this video. The insidious thing about aflatoxin is that it's stable. Cooking doesn't destroy it. Freezing doesn't destroy it. Once it's in your feed, it stays there. You cannot save contaminated feed. You can only prevent contamination in the first place through proper storage. So what is proper storage? 3 rules. 3 non-negotiable requirements that you must follow if you want to keep your feed safe. Rule number 1, airtight containers. Feed must be stored in containers that prevent moisture exchange with the environment. This means hard-sided containers with tight-fitting lids. Not bags, not sacks, not boxes. Containers. The best options are food-grade plastic bins with locking lids, metal bins with rubber-sealed lids, or glass jars for small quantities. The key word is food-grade. Containers that previously held chemicals, even if thoroughly washed, may retain residues that contaminate feed. Buy new containers specifically for feed storage or use containers that previously held human food and are confirmed food safe. Size matters. Large containers are more economical but create a problem. Every time you open the container to remove feed, you introduce fresh air and moisture. A better system uses multiple smaller containers. Each container holds approximately 2 weeks' worth of feed for your loft population. You open only the current container, leaving the others sealed. This minimizes air exposure and maintains optimal conditions in the unopened containers. Transfer feed from the original bag into these containers immediately after purchase. Do not leave feed in bags even temporarily. Do not store bags inside containers as a double protection system. The bags trap moisture and create localized humid microclimates where mold thrives. Empty the bag directly into the container, seal it, and dispose of the bag. Label each container with the date you filled it and the type of feed inside. This rotation system ensures you use older feed first and prevents feed from sitting unused for months until it degrades. Rule number 2, cool, dry, dark location. Temperature, humidity, and light all affect feed storage stability. The ideal storage location maintains temperature below 18 degrees Celsius or 64 degrees Fahrenheit, relative humidity below 60%, and minimal light exposure. Why temperature matters. Chemical reactions, including those that cause rancidity in fats and oils, proceed faster at higher temperatures. For every 10 degrees Celsius increase in temperature, reaction rates approximately double. Feed stored at 25 degrees Celsius goes rancid twice as fast as feed stored at 15 degrees Celsius. Furthermore, fungal growth accelerates dramatically above 20 degrees Celsius. The warmth you might think is harmless is actually a mold incubator. Why humidity matters. This is the most critical factor. Mold cannot grow without moisture. The seed itself contains some internal moisture, typically 10 to 14% by weight for properly dried grain. If environmental humidity is below 60%, the seed remains at this safe moisture level. If humidity rises above 60%, especially above 70%, the seed begins absorbing moisture from the air. Once seed moisture content exceeds 14%, mold growth can begin. Above 16%, mold growth is rapid and extensive. Measure humidity in your storage area using a hygrometer. These devices cost less than €10 and provide instant readings. If your storage area regularly exceeds 60% humidity, you have 3 options. Move feed storage to a drier location, use a dehumidifier to control humidity, or accept that you need to buy smaller quantities of feed more frequently and use it faster before degradation occurs. Why light matters. Light, especially ultraviolet light, degrades vitamins in feed. Vitamin E, vitamin A, and B vitamins are all photosensitive. They break down when exposed to light, reducing the nutritional value of the feed. Store feed in opaque containers in dark locations or at minimum in locations without direct sunlight exposure. Some fanciers store feed in refrigerators or freezers. This is acceptable for short-term storage, 1 to 2 months, but creates problems for long-term storage. Every time you remove cold feed and expose it to warm air, condensation forms on the seed surface. This condensation provides the exact moisture that mold needs. If you use refrigerated storage, remove only the amount you need for 1 day, allow it to warm to room temperature in a sealed container before opening, and return the main supply to refrigeration immediately. Rule number 3, separate storage by feed type. Not all feed has the same storage requirements or lifespan. High-fat seeds like peanuts, sunflower seeds, and safflower have much shorter storage life than low-fat grains like wheat, corn, and barley. The oils in high-fat seeds go rancid relatively quickly, especially at warm temperatures. Rancid feed not only tastes bad, causing birds to refuse it, but also generates harmful peroxides that damage cells in the digestive tract. Store high-fat seeds separately in smaller containers and rotate them more frequently. As a guideline, high-fat seeds should be used within 4 to 6 weeks of purchase during warm weather, up to 8 weeks during cool weather. Low-fat grains can be stored for 3 to 4 months under good conditions, though fresher is always better. Also separate medicated feeds if you use them. Never store medicated and non-medicated feeds in the same container or even immediately adjacent containers where cross-contamination could occur. Medicated feeds have specific dosing requirements. Accidental mixing can lead to underdosing or overdosing, both of which are problematic. Now let's talk about how to recognize contaminated feed. Because prevention is ideal, but recognition is essential. Visual inspection is your first line of defense. Once per week, examine a sample of feed from each storage container. Pour a handful onto a white surface, a white plate or white paper. Look for discoloration. Mold appears as fuzzy growth that can be white, gray, green, yellow, orange, or black depending on the species. Early-stage mold may be barely visible, just a slight dusty appearance on seed surfaces. Also look for webbing, a sign of insect infestation, particularly Indian meal moths. These insects lay eggs in stored grain. The larvae feed on the grain and produce silk webbing that mats seeds together. If you see webbing, the entire batch is contaminated and must be discarded. Look for clumping. Seeds that stick together or form solid masses indicate moisture problems. Even if mold is not yet visible, clumped feed is on the path to contamination and should be used immediately or discarded. Smell is a powerful tool. Fresh feed has a mild, pleasant, slightly sweet smell. Moldy feed smells musty, like a damp basement. Rancid feed smells sour or painfully sharp. Trust your nose. If feed smells wrong, it is wrong. Do not feed it to your birds. Taste testing is sometimes recommended, but I advise against it for pigeon feed. Human taste buds can detect rancidity and some types of mold, but mycotoxins are tasteless. You could taste feed that seems fine but contains dangerous toxin levels. Visual and smell inspection are safer. Watch your bird's behavior. Birds have more sensitive taste and smell than humans. If they suddenly refuse feed they previously ate eagerly, suspect contamination. If their droppings become loose or discolored, suspect contamination. If multiple birds show signs of illness simultaneously, suspect feed-related toxicity rather than infectious disease. Monitor performance. Gradual decline in race performance, training motivation, or general vigor across multiple birds suggests chronic low-level toxin exposure. Acute illnesses come and go. Chronic toxin exposure creates slow, steady decline that affects the entire loft simultaneously. Now let's discuss the specific mycotoxins that contaminate pigeon feed and their effects. Aflatoxins, as mentioned, are the most dangerous. They are produced by Aspergillus species growing on corn, peanuts, and cottonseed. Aflatoxins cause liver damage, immune suppression, reduced growth rates, poor feather quality, and increased susceptibility to disease. Chronic exposure causes liver cancer. There is no safe level of aflatoxin exposure. Any detection requires immediate feed disposal. Acrototoxin is produced by Aspergillus and Penicillium species growing on grains stored in humid conditions. It causes kidney damage and immune suppression. Birds exposed to acrototoxins show increased water consumption as their kidneys fail to concentrate urine properly. Trichothecenes are produced by Fusarium species, often infecting grain in the field before harvest. These toxins cause vomiting, feed refusal, and immune suppression. Birds fed trichothecene-contaminated feed often show mouth lesions and reluctance to eat. Fumonisins are produced by Fusarium species on corn. They cause neurological problems and liver damage. Affected birds may show incoordination, head tilting, or circling behavior. Zearalenone is produced by Fusarium species and acts as an estrogen mimic. It causes reproductive problems including reduced fertility, abnormal eggs, and behavioral changes. Hens may show swollen vents and increased aggression. The problem with mycotoxins is that they often occur together. A contaminated feed sample may contain multiple toxins from multiple fungal species. The effects are additive or even synergistic, meaning combined toxins cause more damage than each would individually. This makes diagnosis difficult because symptoms don't match any single toxin profile. There is no treatment for mycotoxin poisoning, no antidote, no medication. The only treatment is removing the contaminated feed and providing supportive care while the bird's body slowly eliminates the toxins. Recovery can take weeks. Severe cases may never fully recover. Prevention through proper storage is the only real solution. Now let's talk about what champions do differently. The feed storage protocols used by Europe's top lofts. Leo Heremans inspects his feed every 15 days. He opens each container, examines a sample, smells it, and documents his findings in a notebook. If he detects any off odor or visible mold, he discards the entire container immediately, no matter how much feed remains. I lose maybe €50 of feed per year this way, he says, but I never lose birds to feed contamination. The cost benefit is obvious. His storage room is a converted root cellar, naturally cool and dry year-round. He maintains a constant temperature around 14 degrees Celsius. He uses 20-liter plastic bins with locking lids, 1 bin per week of feed. He never opens more than 1 bin at a time. Louis van der Velde uses 5-kilogram containers and rotates his feed stock every 2 months maximum. I buy smaller quantities more frequently, he explains. Feed costs slightly more this way because I lose bulk purchase discounts, but the feed is always fresh. Fresh feed is more palatable, more nutritious, and safer. My birds eat it more readily and perform better. He stores his feed in a dedicated climate-controlled room where he can regulate both temperature and humidity precisely. He keeps temperature at 16 degrees Celsius and humidity at 50% year-round. This level of control is not necessary for most fanciers, but it demonstrates the importance top competitors place on feed storage. Gaston van de Wouwer uses a rotation system based on feed type. His high-fat conditioning feeds are stored separately and used within 30 days. His standard race mixes are stored for up to 60 days. His winter maintenance feeds can be stored up to 90 days. Each container is labeled with purchase date and use-by date. When the use-by date arrives, any remaining feed is discarded. Even if it appears fine, I am strict about this, he says. Old feed may look good and smell fine, but nutritional value declines over time even without visible mold. I want my birds eating peak-quality feed always, not feed that's merely acceptable. Marcel Wouwers adds a natural preservative to his storage containers. Dried bay leaves. He places 2 to 3 bay leaves on top of the feed before sealing each container. Bay leaves contain compounds that inhibit insect reproduction and may have mild antifungal properties. Whether this scientifically works is debatable, but Wouwers reports he has never had insect problems in feed since adopting this practice. Bay leaves are harmless, So even if the effect is minimal, there's no downside. Now this is the perfect moment to tell you about a natural feed preservation protocol we've developed at Pigeon Healthy. If you write Feed Protect in the comments below, I will share a complete recipe for a natural feed preservation blend using turmeric and mint. These herbs have documented antimicrobial and antifungal properties. This formula is sprinkled into feed storage containers to inhibit mold growth naturally, without synthetic chemicals. The complete protocol, including exact measurements, application methods, and scientific explanation of why these specific herbs work, will be posted in a pinned comment for everyone who requests it. Write Feed Protect now and you'll get access within the hour. And remember, subscribe to Pigeon Healthy using the link in the description for access to dozens of natural feed protection methods, herbal preservation systems, and botanical storage solutions. We publish new protocols every week. This is information that can save your birds and save you money by preventing feed waste. Now back to feed storage science. Let's talk about the conditions that promote or prevent mold growth in detail. Mold requires three things to grow: moisture, warmth, and oxygen. Remove any one of these and mold cannot thrive. You cannot remove oxygen without vacuum sealing, which is impractical for daily use feed. You can control warmth somewhat, but most storage areas experience some temperature variation. Your primary control point is moisture. Water activity, abbreviated AWA, is the measure that matters, not just absolute moisture content. Water activity measures the availability of water for biological processes. Pure water has an AWA of 1.0. Most molds require AWA above 0.7 to grow. Aspergillus species, the aflatoxin producers, can grow at AWA as low as 0.80. To prevent mold growth, you need to maintain feed AWA below 0.7, which corresponds to moisture content below 14% in most grains and seeds. How do you achieve this? First, buy feed that was properly dried before bagging. Reputable feed suppliers dry grain to safe moisture levels before sale. Cheap feed from unknown sources may be inadequately dried to save drying costs. Pay for quality. It's cheaper than treating sick birds or replacing dead ones. Second, store feed in low humidity environments, as already discussed. Even properly dried feed will absorb moisture from humid air if given the opportunity. Third, consider using desiccant packets in storage containers. Silica gel packets, the kind found in packaging for electronics and shoes, can be purchased in bulk online. Place 1 or 2 packets on top of the feed in each container before sealing. These packets absorb moisture from the air inside the container, keeping it dry. When the packets become saturated, indicated by a color change in many brands, you can regenerate them by heating in an oven, then reuse them. Fourth, avoid temperature fluctuations. Rapid temperature changes cause condensation. If you store feed in an unheated garage that gets cold at night and warm during the day, condensation will form inside containers with each temperature cycle. Try to locate storage in a temperature-stable environment, even if that environment is not particularly cool. Stability is more important than absolute temperature. Now let's discuss the economics of feed storage, because proper storage actually saves money despite requiring investment in containers and potentially more frequent purchases. A 25-kilogram sack of quality feed costs approximately 25 to 35 euros depending on type and brand. If you store it improperly and 30% becomes contaminated and must be discarded, you've lost 7 to 10 euros. If you instead invest 40 euros in proper storage containers that last for years, you lose zero feed to contamination. The containers pay for themselves within 1 year and provide savings every year thereafter. But the real savings are not in feed cost, they're in bird health and performance. A bird suffering from chronic mycotoxin exposure does not perform at its potential. It places poorly in races or doesn't complete them at all. If you've invested 500 euros in acquiring and training that bird, and it fails to perform because you fed it contaminated feed from improper storage, you've wasted far more than the cost of proper storage containers. Furthermore, treating sick birds is expensive. Veterinary consultations, medications, and lost productivity during treatment and recovery all have costs. An ounce of prevention in feed storage is worth pounds of cure in medical treatment. Some fanciers resist proper storage because they believe their current system is fine. They've been storing feed in bags for years with no obvious problems. But remember, mycotoxin damage is often chronic and subtle. Your birds may be performing at 80% of their potential, and you wouldn't know it because you have no comparison. The first time you implement proper feed storage and see your bird's condition improve over the following months, you'll wish you had done it sooner. Now let's talk about emergency response. What to do if you discover feed contamination. If you find visible mold in a feed container, do not try to salvage it. Do not remove the moldy portions and use the rest. Mycotoxins spread throughout the feed even if visible mold is localized to certain areas. The entire batch is contaminated. Dispose of it immediately. How to dispose of contaminated feed safely. Do not dump it where wild birds or other animals can access it. Mycotoxins affect all birds and many mammals. Seal the contaminated feed in plastic bags and dispose of it with household trash, or bury it deeply where animals cannot dig it up. Some fanciers burn contaminated feed, which is effective if you have a safe place to do so, and local regulations allow it. Clean the container that held contaminated feed before reusing it. Wash with hot soapy water, rinse thoroughly and disinfect with a 10% bleach solution. Rinse again with clean water and allow to dry completely before refilling. Mold spores can survive on container surfaces and recontaminate fresh feed if the container is not properly cleaned. If birds have been eating contaminated feed even for a short time, monitor them closely for the next several weeks. Provide supportive care, high-quality fresh feed, probiotics to support digestive health and stress reduction. Avoid racing or intense training during this recovery period. The birds need time to eliminate toxins and repair any damage. Consider having suspect feed tested by a laboratory if you're unsure whether it's contaminated. Several laboratories offer mycotoxin testing for animal feeds. This costs 50 to 100 euros per sample, but provides definitive answers. If multiple birds are ill and you suspect feed contamination but cannot confirm it visually, testing is worthwhile. Now let's discuss feed freshness beyond just mold contamination. Because even mold-free feed degrades over time, vitamins degrade. Vitamin E, essential for immune function and reproduction, decreases by approximately 10% per month in stored feed. Vitamin A decreases at similar rates. B vitamins are somewhat more stable but still decline gradually. Feed that's 6 months old may have lost 50% of its vitamin content even if stored under ideal conditions. Fats oxidize. The process called lipid peroxidation creates harmful compounds called free radicals. These damage cell membranes throughout the bird's body. Oxidized fats smell rancid and taste bitter. Birds fed heavily oxidized fats show reduced growth, poor feather quality, and increased disease susceptibility. Proteins denature. This is a slower process than vitamin degradation or fat oxidation, but over many months, proteins in seeds gradually change structure and become less digestible. The solution is simple: buy smaller quantities more frequently. Use feed within 2 to 3 months of purchase, 1 month for high-fat seeds. Yes, this means more frequent trips to buy feed and possibly losing some bulk purchase discounts. But the nutritional quality of fresh feed makes it worthwhile. Some fanciers want to buy 6 months worth of feed at once to save money and reduce shopping frequency. This is false economy unless you have commercial-grade climate-controlled storage. For the average loft of 20 to 50 birds, plan to purchase feed monthly or at most every 2 months. Now let's talk about feed sourcing, because storage alone doesn't guarantee safety if the feed is contaminated before you buy it. Buy feed from reputable suppliers who are established in the pigeon community and have good reputations. Ask other local fanciers where they buy feed. Reputable suppliers test their feed for moisture content and inspect for visible mold before bagging. They store feed properly in their warehouses. They rotate stock to ensure customers get fresh product. Avoid buying feed from general farm supply stores unless they specialize in pigeon feed or have high turnover of pigeon products. Feed that sits on store shelves for months in variable conditions may be degraded before you even purchase it. Inspect feed before purchasing when possible. If buying in person, ask to see the feed. Look at it, smell it. If the supplier refuses or acts defensive, shop elsewhere. Good suppliers are proud of their products and welcome inspection. Check packaging dates if present. Some premium feeds are now date-stamped with production or packaging dates. Choose the freshest available. Avoid damaged bags. Torn, wet, or stained bags indicate handling or storage problems. The feed inside may be compromised. Be suspicious of unusually cheap feed. Feed prices reflect ingredient costs. If someone offers feed substantially cheaper than the market average, ask why. It may be old stock they're trying to liquidate, or inferior ingredients, or inadequate processing. Now let's discuss seasonal considerations in feed storage, because different seasons present different challenges. Summer is the most challenging season. High temperatures accelerate rancidity and vitamin degradation. High humidity promotes mold growth. Insects are most active. During summer, you must be extra vigilant about storage conditions. Consider reducing purchase quantities to 1 month's supplies during the hottest months. Check feed more frequently, perhaps twice weekly instead of weekly. If you lack climate-controlled storage and summer temperatures in your storage area regularly exceed 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit, you may need to purchase feed as needed for just 1 or 2 weeks at a time. This is inconvenient but necessary to maintain feed quality. Winter presents different challenges. Temperature fluctuations between daytime and nighttime or between heated and unheated areas can cause condensation. If storing feed in an unheated garage or shed, try to stabilize temperatures by insulating the storage area. A simple foam board insulation on walls can reduce temperature swings significantly. Winter is also the season when rodents seek shelter indoors and may target stored feed. Ensure storage containers are rodent-proof. Metal containers are best. Heavy-duty plastic containers are acceptable, but should be inspected regularly for gnaw marks. Place containers off the floor on pallets or shelves where rodents are less likely to access them. Spring and fall are generally easier seasons for feed storage, with moderate temperatures and typically lower humidity. However, don't become complacent. Continue regular inspections and proper storage practices year-round. Now let's address a question many fanciers ask. Should you refrigerate or freeze feed? Refrigeration and freezing do slow vitamin degradation and prevent insect problems. However, they create moisture management challenges. Every time you remove cold feed and expose it to warm, humid air, condensation forms. This condensation can promote mold growth. If you choose to refrigerate or freeze feed, follow this protocol. Portion feed into small airtight containers, each holding perhaps 1 week's supply. Keep the main supply in the freezer or refrigerator. Each week, remove one small container and allow it to warm to room temperature over 12 to 24 hours before opening it. This warming period must occur with the container still sealed, so condensation forms on the outside of the container, not on the feed inside. Once the feed has warmed to room temperature, open the container and use the feed normally. Do not repeatedly freeze and thaw feed. Each freeze-thaw cycle damages seed structure and increases susceptibility to mold growth. For most fanciers, proper cool but not refrigerated storage in airtight containers is simpler and equally effective if feed is used within appropriate timeframes. Now let's talk about something rarely discussed, the storage requirements of different feed types beyond the simple high-fat versus low-fat distinction. Legume seeds like peas and beans are relatively stable in storage. Their protein and starch content is high, fat content is moderate, and they dry thoroughly during processing. They can be stored for 4 to 6 months under good conditions. Cereal grains like wheat, corn, barley, and oats are also relatively stable. Their low-fat content makes them resistant to rancidity. They can be stored for 3 to 6 months depending on initial moisture content and storage conditions. Oil seeds like sunflower, safflower, hemp, and flax are the most perishable. Their high unsaturated fat content makes them prone to rapid oxidation. They should be used within 4 to 6 weeks in summer, 8 weeks in winter. Some fanciers exclude oil seeds from long-term storage entirely, instead purchasing small quantities weekly or mixing them into feed immediately before use. Coated or processed feeds, pellets, or extruded products have varying storage lives depending on their formulation. Check manufacturer recommendations. Generally, they store better than whole seeds because the processing removes some moisture and the coating may include preservatives. However, once the package is opened, treat them like any other feed. Transfer to airtight containers and use within recommended timeframes. Medicated feeds must be used within their expiration dates. Medications degrade over time. Expired medicated feed is not just ineffective, it may be harmful if degradation products have formed. Never use medicated feed past its expiration date under any circumstances. Now let's discuss the impact of storage on palatability, because nutritional quality isn't the only consideration. Birds prefer fresh feed. This is not just pickiness. Fresh feed smells better because volatile compounds that give seeds their characteristic aromas are still present. These compounds evaporate over time. Old feed smells faint or doesn't smell at all. Fresh feed tastes better. The fats that give seeds their flavor are in their optimal state, not oxidized. Fresh feed is more palatable, meaning birds eat it more readily and consume appropriate amounts. Old feed may be refused or eaten reluctantly, leading to undereating and nutritional deficits, even if the feed is technically safe. If you've ever wondered why your birds suddenly seem less interested in their feed, poor storage may be the answer. Before assuming your birds are sick or the feed is contaminated, check how long it's been in storage. If it's been more than 2 months, try fresh feed. You may be surprised how much more enthusiastically they eat when the feed is optimal. Now let's talk about the role of antioxidants in preventing feed degradation. Some fanciers add vitamin E supplements to stored feed to slow oxidation. This can work. Vitamin E is a fat-soluble antioxidant that scavenges free radicals and prevents lipid peroxidation chains from propagating. Adding vitamin E might extend the storage life of high-fat seeds by 1 to 2 weeks. However, there are considerations. First, vitamin E supplementation affects the overall vitamin balance in the diet. Too much vitamin E can interfere with vitamin K absorption. Second, adding supplements to feed requires thorough mixing to ensure even distribution. Uneven distribution means some birds get too much, others too little. Third, synthetic vitamin E degrades in storage just like the natural vitamin E in the seeds, so you haven't eliminated the problem, just slowed it. A better approach is simply to use feed fresh, rather than trying to artificially extend its storage life with additives. Now let's discuss integrated pest management for stored feed. Because insects and rodents are significant storage concerns, insect pests in stored feed include Indian meal moths, grain beetles, and grain weevils. These pests consume feed, produce waste products that contaminate it, and create conditions favorable for mold growth. Prevention is key. Store feed in sealed containers that insects cannot penetrate. Inspect feed regularly and catch infestations early. Clean storage areas thoroughly before introducing new feed. Residual insects from previous batches will immediately infest new feed. If you discover an insect infestation, discard all affected feed. Do not try to save it by sifting out insects. Their eggs and larvae are throughout the feed even if adult insects are removed. After discarding infested feed, clean all storage containers in the storage room thoroughly. Vacuum to remove spilled feed and insect debris. Wash containers with hot soapy water. Allow everything to dry completely. Only then introduce fresh feed. Some fanciers use diatomaceous earth, a natural powder made from fossilized algae, as an insect deterrent. Food-grade diatomaceous earth can be mixed with feed at about 2% by weight. It damages the exoskeletons of insects, causing them to dehydrate and die, but is harmless to birds. This is a preventive measure, not a treatment. It may reduce insect problems but does not eliminate the need for proper storage. Rodent control requires different strategies. Rats and mice are attracted to stored feed and can chew through plastic containers if determined. Use metal containers if rodents are a problem. Place containers on shelves or pallets at least 30 centimeters or 12 inches off the ground. Rodents prefer to travel along walls and floors. Elevating feed makes it less accessible. Keep the storage area clean. Spilled feed attracts rodents. Sweep and vacuum regularly. Do not allow feed to accumulate on floors or in corners. Consider using rodent traps or bait stations if you have persistent problems. However, be extremely careful that birds cannot access rodent poison. Many rodenticides are toxic to birds. Use physical traps when possible. If you must use poison, place it in locked bait stations in areas birds cannot enter. Now let's address the relationship between feed storage and seasonal health management, because feed quality affects birds' ability to handle seasonal stresses. During breeding season, birds have increased nutritional demands. Hens producing eggs need calcium, protein, and energy. Cocks feeding squabs need high-energy, dense feeds. This is not the time to be feeding old, degraded feed. Ensure your breeding season feed is absolutely fresh, purchased within the previous month, stored optimally. During racing season, every percentage point of performance matters. Degraded feed reduces performance. Fresh, high-quality feed optimizes it. Champion fanciers often purchase feed weekly during racing season to ensure absolute freshness. During molt, birds need high-quality protein for feather growth. Molting is metabolically expensive. Don't compound the stress by feeding poor-quality stored feed. Again, freshness is critical during this period. During winter rest periods, nutritional demands are lower and birds can tolerate slightly older feed more forgiving. However, this doesn't mean standards should slip. Maintain proper storage practices year-round. Now let's talk about what I call the feed storage cascade, where one mistake leads to another and problems compound. It starts innocently. You buy a large quantity of feed to save money. You store it in the original bag because you haven't gotten around to buying proper containers. The bag sits in your garage for a few weeks. Garage temperatures fluctuate. Some moisture condenses inside the bag. Mold spores germinate. You don't notice because the mold is inside the bag at the bottom where you don't see it. You start using the feed. The first few scoops from the top are fine. As you dig deeper, you're getting into the contaminated portions. Your birds eat it. They don't immediately get